Before the world knew it as a superpower, before its flag waved across continents, before its voice shaped global politics, the land that would become the United States of America was silent, vast, and ancient. Long before cities, borders, and governments, this land was home to millions of indigenous people who lived in balance with nature. Forests stretched endlessly, rivers flowed freely, and civilizations thrived without the concept of a nation called America. These people hunted, farmed, traded, and governed themselves through traditions passed down for generations. Their connection to the land was spiritual, not political, and ownership meant responsibility rather than control. Thousands of years later, across the ocean, Europe was changing. Kingdoms competed for power, trade routes, and wealth. Gold, spices, and expansion became obsessions. In this hunger for dominance, explorers were sent into unknown waters. In 1492, Christopher Columbus crossed the Atlantic under the Spanish crown, believing he had reached Asia. What he found instead was a new world, though it was not new to those already living there. His arrival marked the beginning of one of the greatest transformations in human history. What followed was not discovery, but conquest. European powers flooded into the Americas. Spain, France, Britain, and others claimed lands they did not own. With them came weapons, religion, and deadly diseases. Entire native populations were wiped out, not by war alone, but by illnesses their bodies had never encountered. Communities collapsed, cultures vanished, and ancient societies were destroyed. This tragedy became the unseen foundation upon which America would rise. By the early 17th century, Britain began establishing permanent colonies along the eastern coast of North America. Life in these colonies was harsh and unforgiving. Settlers faced starvation, disease, and violent conflict. Survival itself was a daily struggle. Slowly, these settlements grew for decades, the colonies remained under British control, but distance weakened loyalty. Britain taxed the colonies heavily to pay for its wars, yet offered no political representation. Anger spread, protests erupted. A simple but powerful idea united the colonists: no taxation without representation. Resistance turned into rebellion. When British authority responded with force, the path to war became unavoidable. In 1775, armed conflict began between colonial militias and British troops. The colonies were weak, divided, and inexperienced. Britain was the strongest empire on earth, but the colonists were driven by a powerful belief that people had the right to govern themselves. Under the leadership of George Washington, they fought not just for independence, but for an idea. In 1776, they declared that idea to the world. The Declaration of Independence proclaimed that all men are created equal and endowed with natural rights. These words echoed across history, even as slavery continued to exist beneath them. After years of sacrifice, with critical support from France, the colonies defeated Britain. In 1783, the United States of America was born. A new nation faced an enormous challenge: how to govern itself. The founders created a constitution that divided power between branches of government, aiming to prevent tyranny. Democracy was no longer an experiment. It was reality. As a nation expanded westward, it grew stronger and more divided. Indigenous peoples were forced from their lands in brutal relocations. Slavery expanded alongside growth, deepening the divide between northern and southern states. Industry flourished in the north, while agriculture and slavery dominated the South. Tensions hardened into hatred. In 1861, the country tore itself apart in a civil war. Brother fought brother. Cities burned. Hundreds of thousands died. In the 20th century, America stepped onto the global stage. It joined World War I, then faced economic collapse during the Great Depression. Through reform and resilience, it recovered, only to be drawn into the deadliest conflict in human history. World War II ended with America emerging as a superpower, wielding unmatched military and economic strength.